For almost 40 years, it was a hotbed of crime, drug and alcohol abuse. But finally, the area known as the Block in the suburb of Redfern is being reborn. And as I found out, it's all thanks to an unlikely alliance between police and the Aboriginal community. Redfern has seen plenty of fights. Been on its knees, almost down for the count.
The Block became such a vicious cycle, you know. It was so evil, you know, you could smell the death of our people.
It was frightening at times. People we knew, you'd grown up with, had died of heroin overdose in the street.
This is the enclave called the Block, inside Redfern, just a two-stop train ride from the centre of Sydney. In the worst days, it was them and us.
I used to think that the police were the enemy.
Cops up against drug runners, gangs and angry locals. There have been riots, murders, robberies.
Drug use down here on the Block and people drinking in the kids' playground.
The local leaders like Shane Phillips knew the vicious cycle had to end.
There's people that used to come through here that would go into jail, come out, get back on drugs, go back into jail. That merry-go-round we're going to stop.
And this is part of the remedy. The bloke sparring with the young fellow is the boss of Redfern Police, Superintendent Luke Freudenstein, using his own tactics and his own time to encourage Aboriginal youths to steer clear of trouble.
There's two boys who have been very, very good role models for their people, for their community.
Prizes of boxing and gym gear, today the winners Marley and Lawrence, for turning their lives around.
2 years before this I was homeless.
I started this about a year ago. I haven't done enough since then.
With most families resettled, the Block is almost a ghost town. A perfect set, as it happens, for the new Underbelly series. The area's about to be transformed.
So it's time for us to change the place. That's why I believe we'll knock everything down, rebirth the land and just build a very good, strong foundation for the future.
I want my kids to be able to walk around the community and we know that they're safe.
Final plans for the $70 million redevelopment include townhouses, apartments, student flats and Aboriginal housing. Work could start early next year.
This is what it looks like now, and this is what it's going to look like for the future.
This is a community taking responsibility for its past and its future.
And it's really up to us as Aboriginal people to stand and be accounted for. I truly believe that we're going to stop the blaming.
It's been a two-way street.
We're all mixing in together. We're all the same. We're all after the one thing, to stop crime in Redfern, to give the Aboriginal community a bit of a go and to help each other out. And look, it's working.
Redfern's rebirthing is already having a real estate impact.
The median price now in Redfern is reached $1 million.
This, though, is about more than property prices.
There'll be much more because we'll be actually there making sure that we shape the future and that we actually hand it over to the kids.
You truly believe that?
Watch this space. Just watch this space.
Just to give you a bit of a perspective on where, from the Block, I'm from the Block, so growing up there I grew up with a lot of anger and resentment and unfortunately, and I'm embarrassed to tell you, there was some hatred in there. And it was all there because I just felt that I was detached from what everything, you know, was. It manifested in that way, the hurt and I suppose the feeling of loss and the, you know, that sense of hopelessness. It sort of, looking back on it for myself, that we could have found other ways to do things to get the same message across. And as a community, owning and empowering ourselves to do that is crucial. For a little while, and I'm talking about Redfern on the Block, we also waited for someone or some government policy to come along and fix it for us. We also had, we were reliant, we shackled ourselves into the perception that the answer was coming that way too. But you know what's really cool about it is, apart from the Block, like the Block was full of drugs, and we know that in its heyday, I saw some of the greatest role models in that place. Some people that, you know, everyone had known about, you know, Charlie Perkins and Mum Shirl and Bobby Blair, Nicky Blair, all these people, they're all part of this, of working really hard for our people, and they did a lot of great things. But then I saw the decline of it because I saw heroin hit there, and when heroin hit there, it didn't just affect other people, but we had our own families in there. They were all using, we had our own families in there using heroin. And when you use heroin, a lot of them end up dealing heroin. And as we knew that the change had to come, and it shouldn't have been just about the bricks and mortar. It had to be about the people. And what was really cool was, and I'll go to this program because I'm going to speak to that program that started, that's grown its own life now, but a bunch of kids, unlikely, a bunch of young offenders who are committing all the robberies in our area, and there were 10 that we picked for this program with Luke, who you saw in that clip there, who's the area commander. He said, I've got 15 boys that are committing robberies in your area. We need to do something. He said, I can arrest my way out here. He was new to the command, and we'd seen plenty of people come and tell us things, and we'd, I didn't take him, I took it cheaply, and I took him for granted. I thought he's just going to say the same stuff they all said. And I said, all right, if you want to do something, go and talk to some of the people from the other organisations, and if they, they will all come together and create something. They all came up with some sort of really soft, welfare style approach. We had people from government departments in there who were telling us, and some of these young men who we knew, in the end I said to him, let's forget about the rest of them, let's just do what we do. Tribal Warrior Association and yourselves will partner up with the men's group, and let's just start a routine program. So you think about it, a bunch of young men who were committing all the robbery, a majority of the robberies around the area, becoming, starting with the most simplest of things, routine. And the simplicity is the real key. It's not all about our perceptions and what we, all the papers that people have done. It's about the buy-in from community. And we'll just talk, I can only talk from that angle because that's the angle that I know about. So when we got to the block, we actually said to the people, we said to our own families, we said to everyone, we're going to change it here. You can be the solution or you can be the problem. And when we do this, you have to be part of it. So we said once a month we're going to run a thing called Family and Culture Day. And we want everyone. On that day you can't sell drugs, you can't use drugs, you can't drink. You've got to be up there, you've got to help the community. We've got to clean it up, we do things. A bunch of these young boys, who are young men now, they actually were the ones who physically helped me. They went and they put things under, flyers under doors to tell people. And it got to heavy confrontations. We got threats, there was death threats. We got lateral violence. It was unbelievable, the type of lateral violence we copped because we were doing something and the police were involved. So it was a turning point for us all. When we saw, I'll park that, but just to talk about this program, we went back to Luke and I said to him, okay, we're going to do the routine program. He's got three or four police. I said, don't pick the police who everyone knows and has a good relationship. Pick the ones that don't like us and potentially we probably don't like them. And if we train together, maybe something different will happen. That's what happened. So we're outside. We picked the 10 most influential young men who were influencing for all the wrong reasons, and they picked those police. So we're outside the PCYC at 5:30 in the morning because it was based on teaching our people about what our people had been in industry for a long time. And also before industry got here, the practices and everything that our people had done. I mean, it's vast, but we weren't looking at, we're only looking at deficits. And we had our lens, we're all conditioned to think deficit. And we'll talk more about it. So we said, we're out in the bus and we looked at the police officer going in and everyone had a bad relationship with him. And one of the kids said, I hate him, I'd rather, it was all wrong. We said, we're going in there and we're going to train. So if you can imagine, we walk in there, we're doing pads, it's 3-minute rounds and 9 of them. First time we actually seen each other. You have a new conversation with a different person every time. At the end of that session, we all dropped our guards and we saw each other. It was so simple. This went on for weeks. After weeks, we started to say hello to each other in the street, which was not done ever before that. A little bit after a month into it, the families and the people who were bagging us were saying good things, and these young men who were weekly offenders had stopped committing offences. And they were going to school, and some of them were starting to work. Some of them were just volunteering, but it was about routine, teach them about their culture, about who their people are, why they should be proud of them, and then build the platform. That's the launch pad. So what happens was, 3 months into it, there's an 82% drop in robberies. None of the kids are offended again. The kids are right up to this date, this is 2009, right now none of those young men have reoffended, but not only that, they've helped change the way that we think as a community. So because they've taken some mentorship and leadership roles, it's been crucial for us. And we know that if you've got active males around between 18 and 25, it's really healthy for your community. So because these young men had then pushed something different for us, it grew. And as more people started to hear good things about it, everyone wanted to be part of it. So you go to the exercise program, and we chose routine and discipline and culture, and we taught, and all it does is it gives you a sense of worth, a sense of belonging with the routine. It's crucial. Everyone in this room's got a routine, and functional families work on routines. So we went that first, and we knew from now on we'd teach them everything you talk about when you come into our exercise program. It's not just an exercise program, it's about the lens. We're moving the lens from deficit to excellence. So we only show them what our people have done. So if you can imagine, and I'll give you a little of the most simple, because I'm not very good at bigger ones, but we looked at industry. Every industry our people would worked in. There's a theory, there's a myth that around it our people weren't great. They talk about we're not employable, and all sorts of things that went around, and this perception actually shackled us in there for some time. But our people worked in every industry. You probably know that in 1873, even the 1850s, when the railway was beginning, highest employer of Aboriginal people in this area. Where Central Station is now was actually Redfern Station. Redfern Station became really crucial to the whole area because William Redfern gets a subdivision, and William Chippendale, they moved Central Redfern to where it is now, and Central stays there. But maids around the place, in the shearing industry, in the cotton industry, in the off the wharves, we show our children that. An example of the opposite of after about a month and a half, when we were telling these kids, this is what our people did, and we got them to research it themselves. We go to an education conference, and at the conference, the minister, there's 15 of us, and there's about 300 people in there, non-Aboriginal people. The minister, through probably good intention, brought the shackles back out because they put up these graphs and they talked about the deficits. What is wrong at the beginning of this conference? You can imagine these kids. She talked about the dropout rates of Aboriginal people and all sorts of things. I just cut off at some stage, but it was harsh because I saw the body language of these kids go to slump mode. And I thought, we said to them, that's not you, that's not us. We're changing this. So what we can do, we don't have a magic wand, but we can focus on what we can do. Kids do have issues, and that can't be a launching pad. So if a kid wants to survive and thrive, more so thrive instead of just survive, it's giving them the right launching pad. Finding the routine, finding pride in who they are as a people, let them reconnect with their families, give them that sense of worth. Because you know what happens? In our program, the exercise, you do some exercise, you're doing pad work. We don't encourage boxing. Some of us came from boxing backgrounds, but the exercise is good. So having a conversation with a different person each time, it grows your communication skills. People get to get better and better at it. And anyone new, the kids we push the kids over there to make sure they're teaching people. So it really creates their own leadership too. So how that's helped us as a community, I can't even quantify it now, because it's helped us not only about our health and the way that we took control. Health, I reckon we're actually proactively looking at, we keep hearing Closing the Gap and all. I reckon proactively we're seeing these lifestyle and healthy lifestyle changes. When I was a young bloke, I grew up on the block, everyone smoked pot. What did I do? I smoked pot. I got there because it was like, that was the circle. They were the cool people. Now, the cool people now, they train in the morning and the afternoon and the night. They're training, and all these kids are hanging around training again. It's like the new hangout. Do you know how awesome it is for me as an Aboriginal man to see that dynamic working in our community? I feel so proud that we're part of this generation that's happened. I thought I could never have imagined it. I thought it was something that someone would have wrote a story about and it wasn't true, but it's fact. It's fact. These young ones are helping us change. So now a lot of us old ones are all being part of it. We get benefit out. Lateral benefits are like kids with their education focus. You get in there in the morning, you get your focus on, 7 o'clock in the morning, you finish training, they have a bowl of cereal, they learn language, they go to school, or they go to work. Or if you're not, I'm not of the, I'm not one of those people who push, you have to have a job, but I know you have to have a role. There's some places there's not going to be enough jobs, but there's a role. Community's always had a role for people. In our culture, everyone played a role. Everyone played a part, and it was crucial that everyone knew they were worth something. And that sense of worth in your community is crucial. So you've probably been doctors and in the medical fraternity and the industry, crucial seeing that, what it's like when you know the light comes on for yourself and you feel like you're worth something. That is a pretty cool moment. And I see it a lot with a lot of the young ones in our program. I'm actually seeing it with some of the older ones. I'll give you an example. One of the kids there, you saw him in that thing there, his first one to work. His grandparents worked, but his mother and father hadn't worked. He goes and gets a job. They had a drug problem. A few weeks go into it, the mother comes to us, says, "Can you get me a job like my young one?" And we said, "Absolutely." So what we did is we said, "We're going to make it just part-time at the beginning. We'll help you, we'll mentor you through, we'll push you, and then you see how you go. If you like it, they might keep you on." She's killing it. She's doing really well there. She's been there a few years now, but the family cycle, that chain has been strengthened and not broken, We're seeing that. I'm glad to say that in Redfern, I've actually seen positive peer pressure come about. You go to the training session, someone drops out, the benchmark is no quitting. You can't quit. You can rest, but you can't quit. That's the rule. That gets sung out every session. If someone's dropped and they're buggered, they'll say, "You have a rest, but you get back up. You can't quit." Kids are singing out, and old people are singing out. And it's the benchmark. And the benchmark has been an awesome thing for us as a community. So we went from being 16 people in a training session to, we average 80, sometimes over 100. And it's families, it's I don't know, apart from elite athletes, who choose to get up and work on that every day of the week, or 3 days a week for all year. And it's crucial. Some of the things that we're finding out ourselves now, and someone just fed us this, I might be just misquoting something, but they said that in a study that had done, successful people, they said 2 things they had. One was they had exercise and the other one was routine. Now these kids hearing that just have a sense that things are okay. The launching pad is in front of them. It's not somewhere away where they can only hear about. They are part of the launching pad. They walk the launching pad every day. To give you a look at some of the other benefits of it, one of the young ones, we get a school who comes across and says, "We want to take some of the young blokes to our college." They said, "Do they play rugby?" We said, yeah, they do. And we said, "Will you boys travel?" They said, "Yep." So they got this scholarship over there. They were killing it at rugby. But then what was the best thing for us is one of the young guys top maths in the year. That testimony we spread out. We let everyone know. But you know what it did for us? It actually quantified for some of the kids there how valuable education was for us. I never used to value education. My mum, they must have been really bad to her at school. I got a bad time, so I graduated year 8 myself. But it was, I think it was because they got treated badly and they held it, that they didn't encourage me and push me to get that tool. So what we've chosen to do is we're valuing it by looking at the value of our own learnings. So we say, it's not just about education, it's about learning. Learning for us is not just 9 o'clock till 3. We're saying to the kids, this is part of your DNA. You look at everything you learn, and we show them which parts you're actually learning. That's part of education. It's your life education. So we give them all sorts of things and the conversation is the same. It's repetitive, but they own it. And I suppose one of the ways we measure it is we have kids who quote the same stuff, and they're quoting it to other young ones. So it's crucial to us. You guys, I'm not sure which communities you're at and whereabouts, but there's nothing better than hope. Hope busted me out of this anger and hatred. And I know that when I had it was bad for me. But even in, it was only in recent times, or 10 years ago, that I changed the way that I thought. Because I think you used to have to kick the doors down of perceptions of people. But more so, people used to tolerate each other. Tolerate is such a shitty word. Appreciate each other really is important. People learn to appreciate each other and people see the value in each other. It's crucial. It's the human engagement tool that really brings us together as community. And you know what? It could be, we live in Redfern. In Redfern, some people come here to live in the suburb, but what they really should do is they should come to the community. And if they connect up with the community, black and white, you know how fruitful that is. In our training sessions, there's doctors, there's lawyers, there's bankers, there's all sorts of people who have got, there's a funny story. We were training, there's an old bloke training in there, and one of the police said, do you know who that is over there? I said, no. He said, that's the governor of New South Wales. Dave, I said, Dave, he's the governor of New South Wales. And it wasn't until then, and this was about after 10 sessions of training, but he didn't want anyone to know that he was part of that thing. We actually went down and trained down here last week, and it was a real cool buzz for these kids. So I'm going to just draw something really cool because it's simple. I hate raving on, and I'll tell you the truth. I just got out of hospital, so I'm half prepared with all this. So to give you a look at some of the things that we do with the kids, we do everything repetitive, everything, and to give you a look at a perspective of where we're coming from. So in Redfern, the Aboriginal community of Redfern, we know we're in the border of Gadigal and Wangal country. We know that colonisation began here. And then we know that the kids didn't know much about the stories. They only heard probably the story about Captain Cook, and then I don't know if they get the whole Governor Phillips and the 11 ships in the first fleet coming and where they were situated. So we put it into our perspective and we give them a look at it so they can have the tools, they can see how it worked. Now there was a great deal of interaction at that time in 1788. There was a lot of trading that happened. There was a lot of, obviously the the smallpox come in at that time and really changed things. But we're here. To do something about it is crucial to us. And what we do is we find things that are common to us all so that we can find simple ways of engaging. So a little thing that we do is a couple of things that we do because a lot of people don't even know it. And I know that 80% of you people don't know it yourselves. You watch this one. The Sydney dialect, when a Sydney dialect was taken out of here, when they took it out, and that's one of the things that the kids are relearning here. People thought recently that it was completely gone, but there was over 3,000 words that were saved, and a few old ones from the Lapa community, from a few places who still had some of the language, and we've been able to package it to relearn. But most people don't know that they actually speak Sydney dialect. When it left here, people spoke it from the colony. As that expanded, they used the same words, but they thought that it was only one language. But you guys already know that there's many different languages, over 300 different languages in this area, in the country. So how many of you reckon you speak more than 5 words of the Sydney dialect? None of you, eh? You've probably all said things like kangaroo and bondi and wallaby and boomerang and emu and wombat and what else? There's many more they came out of this community, out of this area. And really cool thing, there was a really bad word that came out of here too, that was used on our people for a long time. And we won't tell you, but it was a common word that was used about Aboriginal people. And it's a really derogatory one. And for the purpose, I won't go through it anyway. But to give you a look at the lens, because we're shown, the lens is scrap mediocre, we're aiming for the stars. We teach the kids, this is what we do now. No more mediocre, you aim for the stars. The kids are doing that. So we show them up to, and we'll go to a smaller version of it. So let's just say it was 20,000 years ago. We said, we'll go to a smaller version. Just say it's only 20,000 years. Don't count this, whatever you do, but then we just sort of show them, and we might do this on sand, so whatever you do, don't count it. And we say to them, in that there, and this is just an idea of giving you an idea of the perspective that we're taking, is we talk everything from science, medicine, law, language, family, our protocols, ceremony, many, many more. They're all these things that are greatness, and you come from greatness, we tell them. And you said, these are things that are practiced. We teach them as part of their numeracy and literacy, navigation. How people navigated. They navigated with stars. Those sorts of things. And we say now every 1,000 years, let's say, over that time, over just the 20, our people would have had to overcome something. It might have been the Ice Age. It might have been those sorts of things. Would have had to overcome them to survive and thrive, to get to the next 1,000 years. So we said, now we get through, and then we got to 200 years, and there's a little dot there in the middle there. So we said, someone had to take responsibility back there, and the mob would have thought, who was this going to be? They probably didn't think that. They said, it's up to us. So we show them that dot where the 200 years is our responsibility. We're not going to wait for leaders. We're not going to wait till they stumble out and someone's got leadership qualities. We're going to create leadership. And everyone's a leader. You know, in your family, if you've got a family, everyone's got a role and responsibility to lead something and to affect someone. So that's what we're doing. And someone may come out with bigger leadership qualities, but we're going to push it, we're going to harness it, we're going to push them outside the comfort zones, and we're going to ride this wave as long as we can. And it's crucial to us as a people. And in the Redfern community right now, Redfern is a place of can-do. And I'm proud to say it, and I've been waiting to say that for a long time because it was a place of death and destruction for a little while. I suppose that's it. I don't want to rave on, but I think we're going to have, I'll pass you over to Tom. And you might have some questions later. But we thank you for the opportunity because we're moving that lens together. It's not just us moving it. Whoever moves the lens and looks through it differently now, proactively works on it. Proactively helps us change the perception. Perceptions shackle people. They shackle people, and they shackle yourself, and they shackle the others who you perceive in a certain way. So if you find something you can appreciate in that, about your own area that you work in, you're showing some real respect, and people will reciprocate it because they see that you've taken the time to care enough to appreciate it. So thank you for the opportunity, and I'll shut up now.